making waves, artists waves. We making waves, artists waves. We making waves.
All right, that would be K-Bong. I would be Jeff Gora. This would be Artist Waves. Hello, everybody. Back in the saddle again. Welcome to Artist Waves Live Instagram interview series. Back after a 2-week hiatus. Hello from Memphis. Back from our annual 2-week surf break. We're going to just take 2 weeks and unplug everything and just surf and float in the ocean. And today's guest is Micah Pueschel from the band Coastin', which is really kind of a perfect return to this live format because Micah and his band Iration, did I call them Coastin'? I called them Coastin', didn't I? It's Iration. The new record is called Coastin'. See, I'm still there. Anyway, Iration, their new record is called Coastin', and Micah is the front man, and they have put out a really great record that is just full of positivity, full of good vibes. I have the song Zen Island playing in the background right here, which is speaks for itself. Zen Island is exactly what the record entails. So Mike will be joining us shortly. We have some questions about the new record. We have some questions about writing. Hey, Watermark, what's up, man? Good to see you. I want to talk to him a little bit about writing this record. I want to talk to him about the Hawaiian beach vibes that they got going on and how they stay so positive and the new music. And maybe we'll have time for a question or two at the end from somebody who is chiming in. So here we go. Mike is here. Now is the weird part where I reach into the camera and we connect. Hey, Micah.
How's it going? How are you?
What's up, man?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just doing the dad thing right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep, I hear you. I'm in the same boat.
Nice.
We're just cranking some Zen Island, so I was turning it down there for a minute. So
Nice. Good settle down music there.
I love it. Hey, congrats on the new record. Coastin' is such a perfect and such a record full of good vibes. So I would be remiss if I didn't say congrats first and thanks for all you guys are doing with it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. We worked really hard on it, and we put a lot of time and effort and thought into kind of the way that the music worked and felt, and it was a really fun experience. I think the overall recording process of it was awesome, and just a good vibe the whole time. I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah, you can certainly tell. I was wondering, well, first of all, how are you, man? How is life on the West Coast with a new record out? What is it like to have a record out like Coastin' during this time where there's so much uncertainty? Your record's full of so much positive emotion, which kind of maybe, goes head to head with what's going on elsewhere in the world. What is it like for you guys?
Well, I think kind of our mission in our career and our music for the whole process has always been that force of a counteractive to the negative. So trying to make music that's positive, uplifting, even if it's not necessarily an uplifting song per se, there's always an element of optimism and something for people to kind of connect with and kind of get, understand that these experiences are shared by a lot of people, and we're all going through similar things. I think that's always been the case with our music, even before this. And I think Coastin is just kind of even more, just it just hit at a specific time where kind of the messages and the overarching themes of the album kind of just are even more, prescient. And they like are so right on right now. I just thinking it was totally random. It wasn't planned. Obviously, we didn't write it knowing that there's going to be a pandemic. So it's just one of those things that kind of happens and works out, in the favor of everybody, I guess. I mean, it's, we wrote a positive record about being in the present and being okay with the, loving the simple things, and we couldn't have expected that it would be coming out during a time period, like one of the weirdest times in the history of the country. So
yeah, how could you? But I'm curious though, like, given you guys spent a lot of time obviously writing and recording it over the past 2 years, when it got to be like March, April, and the record wasn't out yet, did you make any changes, or did like what happened in the spring when the world kind of flipped upside down, did that change any of the way in which you compiled the record?
it didn't change the way in which we compiled it, but there was definitely a conversation about, do we want to still put this album out in 2020 or in the summer, knowing that we weren't going to probably be able to tour, because early on the agencies and kind of the people that are in charge of our touring or doing the planning of our touring were kind of giving us feedback that like, hey, listen, like, Taylor Swift canceled her world tour, her national tours. Like, all the big acts are canceling tours, and it's not looking good. Like, just to let you guys know, like, it's probably going to be pushed back. The summer's probably not going to happen, and the fall's probably not going to happen, or winter. So you're looking at like next year, and we're all just like, okay, well. Then there's a conversation of, do you still want to put an album out in the middle of the summer, where normally the reason why you put it out in the summer is to tour and promote it and go out there and play for everybody. And, that's our biggest touring season of the year. So that was the main conversation. And, we were all just kind of like, people, like, we started to announce it and we were going forward, and people were like, you know what, like, we need new music, we need new music, we were like, want to hear your new music. And we were like, they need it, they want it, we want to get it out. We've been sitting on the music for a year, and like, we want to, like, it's hard to just sit on music for a long time. And plus the way that we write and the way that we create, like, we like to do it and then be done with it and then kind of move on to the next and try to find what's the next step, what's the next evolution musically, like, that we want to approach or do. And so, we didn't want to like sit on it for another year and kind of be in a way like stifling our ability to write something new or find the next kind of leap that we want to make musically. So we just said, let's just put it out, and I think people will it'll be a trade-off for sure, where we won't be able to go tour on it right away, but I think people will actually be able to sit on it and like listen to it and really, get in deep with it, as opposed to just hearing a couple of the singles and then kind of going on with their life. And, so it worked out. I think people really are like immersing themselves in the album, like the whole thing, and listening to all the songs and finding, the little Easter eggs and things that we always put in our albums that allow people multiple listens and for music to get better over time. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I'm so glad you did. I'm one of those people that's doing probably exactly what you said. But I got to tell you, I've had a really unique relationship with Coastin, because when I first heard about it and when I first got, the press release and the information, the story behind it that came with it, in addition to some of the songs, I was drawn right away to your description of your being in this convertible Cadillac driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, and the record is trying to just capture that vibe. And I think, like, most people probably know exactly what you maybe can't explain it, but you know exactly what you mean when you say that.
Yeah.
And over the past couple of months, I've been all about like mind control. So I'm close to the beach, I'm close to the shore, but it's not right outside my window. I'm
Right.
close to being able to jump on my surfboard, but I can't just run out the stairs and do it. So I found that like being in that mental space that you're describing was crucial to some sort of, I don't know, calmness, serenity, peacefulness, you know. So I was really appreciative of that description, and that drew me in right away to like, okay, this is something. This type of music is maybe gonna bring me where I'm trying to go mentally to positively affect everything else that I'm trying to do, you know. And then the past 2 weeks, my family and I, we actually got to go to some sort of hideaway right on the beach, remote location, and you know, grab that Pacific Coast Highway top down, waves crash and feel, and have it in my hands. So the first thing I did when I got there, aside from, you know, pour a few drinks or something, was to put on your record and have it accompany the vibe, because it was kind of like, all right, I've been thinking about this for so long. Finally, I'm actually here. So that's my personal story of the past month or so of you know, like coasting being a part of my life, and maybe as you said, like having it be a little bit deeper than maybe it normally would.
Well, I mean, in general, I think that's how, you know, we create connections to certain songs or certain albums or music in general. Is it's that we tie them into memories, right? And we tie them into experiences that we're having, and that's the reason why certain songs always stay with you for a long time. It's because of the way that you're feeling in that moment, that where you heard it, or the moment that a song really spoke to you, and maybe it's the 50th time you've heard the song, but you heard it on a day where you needed it, and you heard the lyrics and you went, whoa, like now I get it. And you know, that's coasting. And I think in the case of this album, I think there's a song for just about anyone on it as well. And I think that the avenues that we kind of go into and the journey, because we do like to think of the album as like a journey, and that's why when we say you're going down the Pacific Coast Highway in a car, it's like in a convertible, we want you to feel like that you're on a little bit of a slow journey where you're kind of just you sit back, relax, and it kind of puts you in that mood. And we wanted the music to feel that way as well, and not just the lyrical content or one or two songs. We wanted the whole thing to have a feel, and that was the main focus with, you know, what we were trying to create were feels. And that's a hard thing to do, because you have to trust your instinct a lot of the time, and you really do have to have a good producer, which we do, that is able to kind of translate stuff like me going, I want it to feel like you're riding down the Pacific Coast Highway in a Cadillac convertible, and he's going, okay, like let's try and do that, you know, like let's try and make that happen. And so I'm glad to hear that, you know, you have it tied to a memory with your family. That was like awesome. You had a good time, you know, and especially during this time, I have great memories of it. My wife, like for her, when we were putting it out, it was at the kind of end of her pregnancy, and right before it came out. So she liked it just because it put her in a state where she could like relax, and she wasn't having all the kind of anxieties and things that come along with, like, you know, about to be giving birth or have your first child. And so, you know, there's a lot of, even for myself and my own family, it had an effect, you know. And it's music that, you know, usually when we make an album, by the end of the process, we're kind of like, okay, like I don't need to listen to this anymore. I've heard every song, you know, 100, 200, 300 times, and like dissected it, every single bit of it. And so this album was one of the first albums that we've made probably since the very beginning where I can still listen to it and enjoy the songs and step away from it and not be so like picking apart every song and what's wrong with it. And I'm just really happy with what we did. So that's a good feeling. And, you know, I look forward to people being able to, you know, make more memories with this album, you know, going forward. And I think live shows obviously have a big part of that as well. So
Yeah,
whenever that happens, we'll do that too.
for sure. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
that's a lot happening in 1 month. That's a lot of excitement.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, for sure.
You guys, right on. And you know what? It's funny you say that about the music too, because one of my favorite parts of the entire record is, well, obviously it's filled with, you know, great songs and great lyrics and delivery and everything. But one of my favorite parts of the record, where I think it's like one of those I got it moments that you're talking about, is the end of the song Coastin'. The musical outro, the guitar part, and like just that whole music, like that's a really special part right there. And that feeling, maybe with Zen Island, maybe I think that was it for me. That really took me to that space. But that music outro on Coastin', it's funny you mentioned that about the music, because my mind went right to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things too, where you kind of want it to keep going. Like you want that outro on Coastin', because it's such a good feel that you kind of want it to just go on for another minute or so, but it kind of ends, and I think that it keeps you wanting more, you know. And I think we purposely did some interesting things as far as the structures of these songs go, and changing the way that we kind of approach structure with songs to kind of keep those feels translating from one song to the next. So on the case of Coastin', you know, it ends with like a musical, you know, that musical groove, and you know, the acoustic guitars come in, and there's like this good feel good kind of like thing that happens at the end there, and then it ends, and then you go into the contact high. And so it was we did all these things on purpose. And you know, normally that song, if we were playing it live, it would probably be longer and would probably go on, but you know, we wanted to keep it so that you want to go back to it, and it's enough that it feels right, and you are able to get into that space with it, but then you are not overdone with it, so that you're kind of bored with it after a while.
Yeah.
And in the case of Zen Island, that was kind of one of the first two songs that we wrote for the project. So it was Chill Out, and then we did Zen Island. And Zen Island, when we did it, we were kind of calling the whole album was called Zen Island at that point, the whole project, because we were like, this is exactly the feel that we want for like the whole thing. Was this feels like, has this really good, like lush feel, and it feels nice, and when you listen to it, the music feels good, and it relaxes you, and the vibe of the song, and the kind of imagery that we're going with, that was what we wanted to kind of expound off of, like, and keep going with the process. And so, you know, the before the album was called Coastin', the project was just called Zen Island, because we were just, every question on the songs was like, does this feel like Zen Island to you? Like, does this feel zen-y, like Zen? And then also like zen-y, and being that Zen kind of Buddhism oneness mixed with island, which was, you know, just to be very straight, was the island music feel, and island, and like a feeling of being on an island, or being, you know, island music in general. So yeah, those two songs, and Coastin' obviously became the title track, because we just felt like the vibe of that song when we hit it, and the message of Coastin' just kind of summed up the whole vibe of the record, and even more than Zen Island. And so yeah, I think those two songs especially were songs that we really kind of focused and hit with the feel criteria.
Right on. And I love how you say Coastin', you get right into the word Coastin', like 7 seconds into the record. It's like, let's go. And then that outro that I just mentioned is like, all right, now we're in the car, and now we're going down the highway, and let's let all the vibes in. Nice. Speaking of positive vibes, I love the fact that your greater music community, I don't want to say genre, I don't know, that's too bland, but like your greater community of peers, how collaborative you guys are and supportive you are of each other. And so like, I think of right here, right now with Eric from Revolution, and I love his line where he's like, Iration, Revolution, Stick Figure, what a combination! Like,
Yeah.
that's that's what I'm talking about. And we have a mutual friend in K-Bong, by the way.
Okay.
K-Bong wrote our theme song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we
He's
talked a
a
little bit
great
about.
guy.
Yeah, he's
K-Bong's
awesome. Yeah. We talked a little bit about this too, him and I. But I love the fact that not so much a question, but like you guys really are supportive of each other and inspire each other. You play on each other's records, and you don't always see that. Like it's not something that you see in every category or every station of music. So like, what has that meant to you to have such a connection with these other artists and bands that you tour with, that you share maybe festival bills with, that you're on the same radio station with? What's that been like for you?
It's been awesome. I mean, to be honest, like I think in music there are a lot of people that are competitive about it, and it ends up when I think if competition is your main focus, you're not focusing on the right things. You should be focused on your songs, and not focus on what other people are doing. I mean, you can always look at what other people are doing, like Revolution and Stick Figure, and go, wow, they're ultra successful right now, and people are like really loving their music and what they're doing. Like, that's amazing. Like, let's see why is that people are like really latching onto what they're doing, which is the case with anything. Like, if you're a music lover or a music creator, you should be doing that all the time with every genre of music and not just your peers. We're all lucky to be where we are in our careers. I would consider that we're at a level of success that is, I'm thankful for, and I'm able to do this for a living. And so we've all toured together. We've toured with Revolution multiple times. We've toured with Stick Figure multiple times. We've toured all together. So we're just buds. Like when we're on tour together, we're all just hanging out, and we're all having a good time, and it's fun. And it just made sense. I think where we are now in our careers, I just thought it was like, you know what, like if we did a song with Revolution and Stick Figure, and it was kind of our three bands right now who are kind of that newer guard that are coming up, where of artists in this scene, that it would, as long as the song is really good, I think it would please a lot of people and really make a lot of people happy. And so that was when we came up with Right Here, Right Now. Like the intention almost from the beginning was like, let's write a song and try to get Eric and Scott on it, because I just felt like from the beginning that it was a combination that would work. And so the song had to be right though for everybody. It had to be a song that fit everyone's message and fit everyone's style. So that was the thing for us, was just coming up with a song that could fit Eric's vocal style and Scott's vocal style, and obviously we went with a song that was a more reggae tinged song, kind of a roots reggae. We call it a shuffle beat, and it was as soon as we sent it to them, they were both just like, yeah, this is awesome, I like this, I'm gonna do this. So we're like, okay, cool. And yeah, they both killed it, and Eric like totally just sent us back his verse, and it had that part on it with Iration, Revolution, Stick Figure, what a combination. And we were just like, oh yeah, okay, that's what Rachmani does really, really well, like stuff like that. And so that tagline just, it sticks with people, and people always say that, like whenever we mention that song or play it, they all drop that in there.
It's so good. It's such a unique moment within the record. It makes you smile. But I'm curious too, like on that point, sometimes the category gets titled like a sunshine reggae, which I think is a cool way to say it. Makes it a little bit modern, roots reggae, whatever you want to call it. But I think the overarching theme is positive vibes. It's really like good energy. It's music for the soul. But you're only human, so I have to imagine that you, like everybody else, have days where you're like, I'm just not in a good mood. I'm having a bad day. I don't necessarily match the feeling of any of these songs right now. Mm-hmm. So when that happens to you or to the group collectively, like what do you do to overcome those moments to get back into the vibe of the songs that you make? Is it you can't do it on those days, or you have to let it pass, or maybe do those good songs come out of being a moment of frustration? I'm curious how you overcome to get to that space where you guys kind of always are.
I think yeah, I think you know, when you're in the process, you kind of do have those days, and you just got to power through them. I think being able to separate what's happening in your own life and focus what's on the song, or sublimate that energy into something that's positive, is a skill, and maybe like a learned skill that you have to get over some years of experience. I think the process for us in the studio, we try to make it as fun and as much of an escape as possible, so that when you get in there, you can focus and you're not thinking about all the stuff that was bumming you out, or you know, whatever was going on outside that was like upsetting you. You're able to just kind of get in there and focus on what you're trying to do, and you know, really try to give your full attention and full energy to the song, because in music, like the song is God, basically. You know, it's what you put your intention into, it's what you put your focus into, and it's the focus. And you if you are not fully invested in each song for what's best for the song itself, then you're doing it an injustice, and you're doing an injustice to the people that support your career and listen to your music and expect something from you that is true and good. So, you know, I think it's just being empathetic is a big thing, and understanding as a musician, like I'm extremely lucky to be doing what I'm doing, and especially to be creating for a living and creating music for a living. That's a privilege, you know. I don't have to go out and dig ditches. You know, my dad worked in the construction industry growing up, so my job was always, when I came home from college or whatever, it was like, all right, you're gonna go and work construction. And I was in the ditches in Hawaii, like in the hot sun, digging ditches with a shovel in my hand for 10 hours a day. And that drove the message home to me that I don't want to do that for a living. Like, I would prefer not to do that. So when I went to college, I got my degree, and I, you know, was able to figure out a life in music, and I think we all did that, and you know, we understand how lucky we are to do it. So when we make a song and we make an album, like, we understand that this is for not just for us, it's for everybody that comes to our shows, that listens to these albums, these albums mean, a lot of times these albums mean more to them than it does to us, you know. And in a lot of cases, you know, we have military people that listen to this on the front lines and listen to it in the desert and go like, your music got me through, you know, a war. You know, we get to hear stuff like that, or this music got me through the hardest times of my life or the best times of my life. And you go, wow, like, you hear that one time and it's worth it, you know what I mean? And then you hear it a lot of times and you go, okay, we're doing something right here. So when we make an album, yeah, we are really trying to do that for all those people, you know, those things stick in your head, and being empathetic about the fact that the music is going to touch a lot of people in different ways, and it's important to really put your focus and your energy into it so that it's right. So
awesome, right on. I'm listening to you, and I'm seeing that some of the comments pop in as you're talking about the kind of the behind the music, and people are mentioning different songs and basically mirroring exactly what you're saying about how certain songs on this new record match that emotion, and either getting them through right now or just something that is making them smile. So it made me think too, like we do on our Twitter, we do a quote of the day. Basically, it's a lyric of the day from any particular artist that writes inspiring music. And we had Move Forward on there today, because I love the opening intro and then the description of the ocean and the sky and everything like that. And really, when I thought about it, I'm like, you know, I could probably find a lyric or a line in any one of these 13 songs. Like, sometimes you got to comb through a record to find it out. And I'm like, what song should I pick? Because there's so many. There's so many lines that you can pull from. And like one of mine in particular is I saw the truth in my reflection in the Blue Lagoon. Like, you know, it just it's kind of coming full circle of bringing yourself to that place of serenity on a highway, on a beach, on a surfboard, whatever it is, and then, you know, ultimately trying to ripple it out. So you guys really captured it, man. It's a special. I know it's kind of weird probably to not have a summer tour behind a record when it comes out, and to be able to go like play it and, you know, put a face to a name type of thing or whatever it is, go, you know, just go out loud and proud with it. But it must be kind of cool to be able to serve up that positivity in a way where it's helping people probably behind the scenes more than you can see visibly in a crowd. You know, like, it's probably not always evident because you're not seeing all these people in every city, but you know that that's happening. It's like, you know, that the water is just like seeping into people's houses of this coasting record for them to have and hold. So that must be kind of special. I mean, with all the frustrations that come with not being able to tour right now, it must be kind of cool to hang on to what it is doing, given the circumstances.
It's really cool. I mean, I still every day, you know, the way that music is consumed now, I think it's people really, you know, it takes them a while to get to find music sometimes. And, you know, the album comes out and not everybody's listening to it on day one, although a lot of people are. You know, a lot of people are waiting a month or 2 months or even a year to hear it. And, you know, that's just the way that it is. And I think just trusting that what you did was real, and trusting that what you did is you trusted your gut on it. And just knowing that when people do hear it and the feeling that you get, that you know, you trust yourself and you trust your ear that it's right, that people, when they hear it, are going to react to it in a way that hopefully is positive. I mean, I know, you know, I see there's always going to be criticisms, you know, and that's just what it is when you make music and you offer it to the public, and especially us, because we are probably the least safe band when it comes to you know, stylistically. We probably push styles more than any other band in the genre, I would say, just because we don't limit ourselves. You know, we can do a song like Last to Know or Fancy, or on this album, Contact High, and go, you know, from there and go all the way to a song like Smile, or, you know, just there's so many different sounding songs on the album. And so, you know, I know that some people are not going to love every single song, but that's okay. And most people that listen to Iration, we always say, like, Iration fans are music fans before they're reggae fans or they're genre fans in general. And when they come to an Iration show, you know, we are focused on playing good music more than we're focused on playing any sort of genre. You know, it's like, we're not like, okay, well, we have to play 37% reggae songs, for you know, 36% rock, and then like 15% pop and acoustic. No, it's not like that. It's just like, no, like, let's just play our songs and whatever feels good and whatever flows right and is a good energy and gets people feeling good and dancing and having a good time. So, you know, that's, you know, it is tough not being able to see people and not go out there and be face to face and play live music, but, you know, we're trying to do things in different ways to connect. And, you know, we have, you know, the internet like this. We have, you know, doing face to face. You know, we do Zooms. We do We do our Uplifter podcast that you know, is we have like 17 or 18 episodes out now. With, you know, we just taped an episode with Junior from Comic Kings that's on the record. We do lots of different stuff, and, like, you know, we have a Twitch channel where I do acoustic, and we do like gaming and chatting and all kinds of. It's just a way to we're just finding different ways to connect with the fans, even though we're not touring. And I think that's one positive to take out of this whole thing, is that we're, you know, it's forced us to reevaluate how we connect to our fans if we are not just able to go out and tour. So.
Yeah, for sure. I think right on. I agree. I couldn't agree more. It gives you, there's some different ways to engage and kind of feed your music to people in a way that maybe they wouldn't have received it, and maybe they hear something different. You know, like, so that's, I know the podcast is really fun, and I was watching your solo acoustic gig the other day, and I was thinking about those things, and we had a question come in. Sometimes we solicit and have some questions from the fans, but we had one come in that I took to personally. If anyone wants to ask maybe one or two more, if we have time while I'm asking this, feel free to fire it in. But one of the questions that we got from a fan that I took to, because I really love Hawaiian culture, especially the music culture. I was there once for a while, and I really you had to like pull me away to leave.
Yeah.
But now, given a lot of you guys have such a history there, and then you happen to end up in Santa Barbara, how do you find there being a difference? Like, does the Hawaiian culture still spill into Santa Barbara? Do you define it as two different things? Like, I know it'll always be a part of your music, but is there a vast difference between your location, or do you find it's just one big kind of inspiring culture?
I mean, there's definitely a difference. Hawaii is a singular place, and there's nowhere else in the world. And we've been to a lot of places. We've been to every state in the country, and there's nowhere that can get to what Hawaii is as far as a vibe and as far as a culture and just the whole thing. It's a special place, and it's an island in the middle of an ocean, so recreating that is impossible unless you go somewhere else. But even then, there's something about the Hawaiian culture that is really beautiful, and there's a focus on ohana, family, aloha, love. Like, it's all these things that are just these like not palpable things, and more theoretical things, and I think that's what makes it so special, is that they are true. When you go to Hawaii or you grow up there, your community is your family, and like people know it. Everyone knows everybody, and when you go through town, you see people, or you go out to eat, or whatever it is, you go to the beach, you're always running into people, friends, and music is such a big part of the culture there, especially Hawaiian music, local Hawaiian music, and we grew up with that, and that's why reggae was ingrained into us, is because I think when Bob Marley hit, when he was, in the music scene, playing music, it really struck with the Hawaiian people. I think not just in a way that was reggae is an island music that feels good when you're on an island. For some reason, it just does. I think the whole message, the political message, the messages on the other side of his music, of the love and unity, and the Hawaiians have gone through political things as well, and I think they all latched onto these messages of love and positivity as well. And so we grew up with reggae. Like, reggae is just as much of a part of the music as traditional Hawaiian music is now, I think, in the local music scene. And so when people ask us, like, they look at us and they're like, "Oh, you're from Santa Barbara," like, or why are they can play reggae, and it's like, well, we grew up in Hawaii, and that's the music there. Like, the local music is reggae. Like, it's reggae and Hawaiian music. So I would say it's very different from Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara has its own thing. It's a different culture. It's a beautiful place. It's a wonderful place to live. Like, I love it here. It does feel very at home to me, because I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the mountains push so close to the ocean that it feels like Hawaii, where you're never very far from the ocean, or you're never very far from the mountains. And it feels like it's kind of it feels like an island a little bit, because you're so kind of closed off from the rest of the world. But obviously, for the purposes of our career, I'm able to go, get to LA and get to, fly places and get, all over the place. So, Hawaii will always be Hawaii, and it will always be the true home, and where we all feel comfortable. Our families are there, and but yeah, there's a difference, and we've garnered stuff from Santa Barbara, which is when we came up to California, we're like, wait a second, there's a rock scene, there's a punk scene, there's these other styles of music that people really react to, and I think that being around so many different styles of music, even like, you know, Latin music or Hispanic music and things that are like, or hip hop. It's like all those things have flowed into our music and made it so that we are more open to playing different styles and different things. And so, you know, that's that. I love Santa Barbara, but Hawaii will always be home. Will always be like the place where whenever you go back there, you feel like at home.
Yeah. Yeah, two special places, two beautiful places. You're right. See, I never really thought about it like that, but Santa Barbara does kind of have, if you're in the right outdoor setting, it does have that like island feel. So
Yeah.
that must be kind of cool. So last question submitted. It's a good one. It's from Jake Lilly Bruin Duke, and they said that's the screen name. And their question was, you've mentioned that Coastin is representative of you and you guys being thankful for the moments that we have, which is a really strong 4 words that I take to pretty dearly. But with that in mind, the record out a month, what does Coastin mean to you now in this moment?
Wow, it's hard to sum that up. I mean, it means a lot. It means, it's something that I will always associate with this time, like being in this pandemic, you know, and having an album out during this pandemic. I had a child during the pandemic. I think everybody's gonna remember this time with specific memories. Obviously, it's a lot of like, they're gonna be telling their, you know, kids and grandkids like, oh yeah, you know, well, we mostly just like wore our pajamas all day long and like, you know, caught up on like all our Netflix series that we haven't watched. But you know, I'll look at it for like so many other things and just, you know, like a reset of your mental game. And I think trying to use it as a positive and trying to use it as a way to kind of reevaluate your life in a good way is a way to look at this whole time as a positive. And I think Coastin will always be tied to that, just because I think we're just so proud of the music that we made on it and the album in general that I think, you know, the responses that we've been getting from people of how, you know, videos of them in their living room with their families listening to it, and, you know, people listening to it on their boats or at the beach or wherever they're doing their pandemic thing, and really latching onto it. And it's like, you know, as soon as I really think that it's, when we look back on it, we'll back on it as a positive thing. I hope, you know, there will be the people that have a hard time to look at things in a positive way. That's just the way that they are. But hopefully, you know, at some point, you know, they can flip that way of interacting with their life. And you know, there's always 2 sides to every coin, and you can either look at it as a positive or a negative. And I think that what we're just striving to do with the album is try to have people reevaluate the way that they kind of look at situations. And if we can take hard situations like loss or breakups or heartaches or heartbreaks, and you can turn them into something positive like a song, and people can connect to it, then there's surely a way that we can take, you know, negative experiences and always find something positive in them, no matter how bad they seem to be. I mean, whether that makes you a person that is more perceptive of what's going on around you, or it makes you understand relationships better, or it, you know, makes you value the little things in life, like walking to a grocery store without a mask on, or being able to go out and eat at a restaurant that you like. Simple things like that. Or I think when we go back out into the world, I hope people really take that with them and go like, okay, that makes sense. Like, you know, these are seemingly things that you would take for granted every other day of every other year of your life. But now, you know, when we go back out into the world, I hope we kind of carry on the understanding that, like, this is about other people. This is about keeping everyone, you know, it shows your interaction with the world is showing how empathetic you are as a person. And I think that's a big thing. I think we need more empathy in general in the world. And I think coasting is about empathy, and it's about being not just empathetic with the people around you, but also with yourself and your own mental state and your own and loving yourself, because shoot, man, it's hard. Like you're sitting in your house all day and you're going, you can start to think about all the shitty things in life and the negative things, and then all of a sudden you're in a hole. And I think it's about overcoming those moments, and saying, well, listen, I have a place to stay. Like, I'm here. I can go out, take a walk outside. The weather's beautiful if you're in California, and there's always something that you can flip, and I think coasting will always be associated like that for me. So hopefully other people too. Really well said.
What a spot on answer to probably a challenging question.
Yeah, it was challenging.
I mean, that was really well said. That's what Artist Waves is all about. So you've brought this full circle perfectly, because that's just it. That's why we exist, and that's why I was really, really appreciative of getting the opportunity to speak with you. I, for one, am very grateful for this record, and that it came out now. Like, if it came out in March, April, it probably, I'm in a place where I'm in the New England area, so it's seasonal. It's not always the summer. But it took to me differently having it matched with this time during this time. So, man, I'm really grateful for it, and I really appreciate those words that you've taken us home with, and that perspective. It really matches what you guys are putting out in the music. And lastly, what's on tap? I know you got the Uplifter Podcast. I know you got some other live streams and some fun things on Twitch and on your YouTube. Anything else coming up that you want to shout out and that I could look out for, and we could talk about a little bit more?
Yeah, we have the Uplifter, obviously, which is really funny. I think we keep it really light. It's in the same vein as the, even lighter than the album. It's it's a lot of us joking. I like to compare it to what we do when we're on the tour bus in the morning, which is we sit in the front lounge. Everybody gets their big coffee mug, and we drink coffee, and we kind of just try to crack jokes and talk about the world, and try to make each other laugh, or we tease each other, and it's all playful, but we try to create that vibe on the Uplifter, and I think that it comes through. So that's something. And then obviously we have the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Iration Live, where you have over 200 paid subscribers now, and it's growing. So it's a really cool place for people to kind of come and interact with me. I do most of the streaming, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to get everybody more involved in different ways. But we're still working on that. Other than that, obviously, we're doing things on YouTube. We're doing things on Instagram, obviously, like we are now, Twitter, and I would just say, if you haven't yet listened to Coastin', give it a try, give it a listen, and hopefully, when you're listening to it, you're somewhere where you like to be, and you attach a positive experience to the listening of it.
Right on. It's impossible not to. So I really appreciate the insight and the stories behind the music and your perspective, and the thoughts of the band collectively in the making of this record. Micah, I really appreciate your time, man. It was really great to speak with you, to meet with you, to chat. I look forward to the next time we see you guys on the road. You don't necessarily have a Boston date on the calendar for next year, but we got some time, so I'll let you guys figure that out.
There's more dates TBA, so there will be a Boston date, or at least a date in that area. We're just working. The problem is there aren't that many. There's only a certain amount of venues, and everybody's trying to tour next summer, because everybody basically took this year off. So just trying to get dates is kind of a tough one. So the agents are working on that. But yeah, we will be up in that region for sure.
Makes sense. If not, I go to New York, Asbury Park all the time too. So you'll just have to force me into a road trip, which
cool.
is totally
cool. The New York venue is awesome. So if you haven't been there, the Pier 17 is amazing.
Oh, it's pure state of the art.
Yeah,
awesome. It's like the scene of a movie. It's incredible.
It is, yeah.
Well, listen, Micah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Congrats on the record. Congrats on everything. It's a really special album, and I appreciate you sharing everything you shared. It was an awesome time speaking with you, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me, and it was awesome. I always like to talk about the album because we are so proud of it. So I appreciate you bringing some awareness to it, and yeah, thank you.
Anytime, yeah, you can certainly tell. So have a good rest of your day, and
You too.
Thanks again, man. We'll chat again sometime.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, Micah from Iration. Man, that was fun. That was awesome. Coastin' is such a good album. It's such a good record. What we were talking about early on is the end of the song Coastin', which is the opening track. Just listen to the last like 10, 15 minutes. It's just such a cool little instrumental. So really appreciate Micah talking with us at this time. And that's it, man. We're back. We're back. Full swing ahead. If you haven't already, artistwaves.com. This week we had a special on the Dixie Chicks. No, not the Dixie Chicks. The Chicks. They used to be the Dixie Chicks. Now they're the Chicks. Their new record, Gaslighter. There's something on the website about that. And we got more live interviews coming up. Matt Pinfield's coming up, and a couple of other fun guests. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for a really great collection of comments about positive vibes and about Iration and about their record and how much you've needed it and literally how much it's meant to you. Man, it was cool to keep an eye on all the good things people were saying about this music because I agree with all of them. So thank you for sharing. I don't know if you heard the Ice Cream Man drive by, but that's the beauty of a home studio. That's what happens. You get all of these noises that come in, and like my chair that always makes that noise. I was in the 9th inning and then pitching a no-hitter, and then there's the chair noise again.